Tamara Lindeman, aka the Weather Station, is with me now in our Q Music studio. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Nice to have you here.
Thank you.
I want to go back to what you said about turning. You were kind of scared of turning 30.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. I just turned 30
Okay.
in May, and I feel like I'm a pretty happy person. Like I'm pretty okay with where I am. But when it changed from 11:59 to 12 o'clock, I kind of wanted to just grab that minute and pull it back. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. I mean, for me, I think it, when I was 28, I started to freak out about turning 30.
Yeah.
And then when I turned 30, it was fine. But I think there's a lot of expectations and, as a woman, you feel like you should have children when you're 30.
Yeah. And you look especially like at our parents' generation.
Yeah.
Typically they had children a lot younger.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And did we hear some of that anxiety in the song?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think the whole record and the song is about anxiety in a certain way, in that, it's a response to what kind of everyone in our generation is dealing with, which is just like absolute uncertainty in every aspect of life, and nothing is the way you thought it might be. And we're looking ahead and everything's pretty much terrifying, and in the case of that song, the response was to enjoy what I was doing and enjoy the moment.
To enjoy what you were doing, to enjoy that moment for you.
Mm-hmm.
Are you surprised at how universal the reaction has been? Something you wrote so personally for yourself. Like I said, people are listening to the song over and over again. A lot of people have really related to this song. I
don't know. I mean, I think it's just great that people understand it, I think...
But don't you feel like they hear themselves in the song too?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think, I thought a lot about this idea of like rock and roll, which is kind of a joke to me. But, the idea of music and of that music specifically is that idea. It's like staring down things you're afraid of and just choosing to be like reckless rather than anxious, and I'm a very anxious and not reckless person, but that spirit, I think is something that people need, especially in a time like this.
I love what you said there about rock and roll. That was something I wanted to ask you about, because you said like this is, when you were putting out this record, I've been a fan of your music for a long time, and Tamara's making a rock and roll record, and I was expecting like a Chuck Berry.
No.
Or,
I mean, it's not even rock and roll. Yeah, but yeah.
But I want to go back to what you said. So it's rock and roll in spirit, and not in like the spirit of rock. Like it's a rock and roll in spirit, in that rock and roll is defiance.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was something I'd never explored in music, but I'd always felt,
Yeah.
When I'm on stage and I'm sound checking, and there's something about that experience that's so intense and makes me feel so vulnerable, that when I can just like push past that and be like, I'm here.
Yeah.
And maybe this isn't going to work, but I'm like here. That spirit was something that I wanted to draw from.
And that's related to you talking in this record how you wanted to be cocky. Because you're not a naturally cocky person. I don't think I've heard the word cocky in a really long time.
It's a terrible word.
It's not a great word, no.
No.
But are we talking about the same thing here?
Yeah.
Like a performance of confidence?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just trying to reach that in yourself, and trying, in the case of me, just trying to, stop apologizing and feeling ashamed of myself, which, every time I write a song, I feel completely ashamed the next day. Like
Why?
I wake up and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I put that in the song. I have to take that out. I have to get rid of this.
What are you ashamed of? Are you ashamed of being too personal? Or?
Yeah, I'm ashamed of what I've revealed. And I still will literally be walking down the street and I'll think of a lyric and I'll be like, oh no, why did I, that's a bad lyric. It's a non sequitur. I'm so hard on myself in general.
Yeah.
But, you just can't go through life that way.
Right.
And I really wanted to harness this feeling of just like a lack of shame and of self-acceptance and self-confidence.
Was there a defining moment where you realized that? Where you realized, hey, if I pretend I feel this way, I might start feeling this way?
I don't know. I mean,
was there a conversation you had? Was there a...
That's a good question. I'm not sure. I mean, I think just touring, like I say, I just got really comfortable being on stage and just started to feel like I belonged there
Yeah.
playing music. And so I think that was what overwhelmed the feeling of shame.
Well, it's funny, and I didn't really actually want to get into this, but I know
Oh,
you were
no.
you were an actor for a really long time.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I guess you still are.
No, I quit.
You quit.
Yeah.
So it's done.
It's done.
Over.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wanted to keep the door open.
I mean, maybe, I don't know. Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you quit. That was a decision.
Yeah.
Like how long ago?
About 2 years ago. But I had sort of walked away from it in my mind
Yeah.
a long time, but that was when I finally actually made the step of being like, actually, no.
I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
The reason I mention it is because I would have thought that would have helped you with this performance of confidence. That if you act like a character, you embody that character, you become that character, you carry that character's traits. I would have thought that is where this performative confidence would have come from.
Well, but it's such a difference because it's not me, you know? Like acting is a very passive thing. You know, you're very much directed to be a certain way and then edited after the fact. You know, like you have so little say over anything. Like, you know, you don't even have dominion over what you wear or your body and where you stand and where you move and when you move. And yeah, so my experience of acting was very much the opposite of confidence. Like
Right.
I would say it took away a lot of confidence. And I think maybe stepping away from acting was actually a huge thing for me because I just suddenly felt this sense of ownership over my body and, you know, myself.
Well,
And
it must be liberating
absolutely.
to act like yourself.
Yeah.
Because we're all performing
Yeah.
in some way or another.
Absolutely. And I think with this record, you know, I just brought out a bunch of things that I actually had always wanted to do. And I just never quite had the guts to do it, you know, and it was a matter of being like, I want to do this and I'm just going to do it. And it's my record and that's what I'm allowed to do. And that's what I'm going to do.
Is that why you self-produced it?
Yeah. Yeah. It was really important to me to be able to, you know, step out and be like, this is me, like it or not. And, you know, if I did that and I was accepted, then that would be better. You know, if when I had collaborated with people, I always was able to be like, well, people just like the record because, you know, Afi was on it or whatever.
This is
it is.
Bahamas, who you work with.
You know, there's always that out. And with this one, I have no out.
Right.
So if people don't like it, it's me they don't like.
Are you ready for that?
Well, yeah, but people like it, luckily, so it's all good.
No, there's nothing. Listen, there's nothing not to like here,
no.
but with a vulnerability,
Mm-hmm.
and this is something I deal with, and I find really, really hard.
Mm-hmm.
With a vulnerability, you have to open yourself up to the fact that not everyone's going to like it.
Yeah.
And that's hard.
Yeah, but it actually feels so much better, you know, because then you know that it was your decision and you know that it's you,
Right.
you know, and you know that you didn't make a decision because of what you thought someone else would think. And so it feels so strong to be able to make your own decision and stand behind it. And that's the way I felt with the record for sure.
It's a really beautiful record.
Thank you.
I just want to ask you one more question about it. Maybe two more.
Mm-hmm.
One is about, I was going to ask you about, you know, your influences. And I think oftentimes when we ask people about their influences, what we're really asking is, who do you think you sound like?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, like,
yeah.
And it's an easy way for people like me to categorize, oh, well, she sounds like Joni Mitchell, or she sounds like Steel Ice Band, or she sounds like these bands.
Yeah.
You had posted on Instagram where you said, I've been influenced by the bass playing on Gordon Lightfoot records.
Yes.
Whoever played drums in the Impressions, This Is My Country, Rejection, Bluegrass, and my favorite, the way people talk about Eric's Trip. Tell me about influences not just coming from records and bands.
No, I mean, those are absolutely legitimate interests, like influences that I talked about and thought about in the recording. And the way people talk about Eric's Trip, you know.
Eric's Trip, by the way, I'll say seminal, iconic band from New Brunswick, Julie Doiron. Really important band in the history of East Coast music, if you don't know who they are. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's something that people's eyes just light up when they talk about Eric's Trip. And I was thinking, like, not even about the music, but just about the idea of that band and the way people feel about that. And the thing that they were harnessing was something that I wanted to draw from. And the bass playing on Gordon Lightfoot records, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Every day in the studio, I was like, Ben, more Lightfoot, more Lightfoot. That was the refrain.